What's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of my New York Islanders GM Mode series here on NHL 16, and it is time to begin Season 2. Now, before we do that, of course, we'll take one more look at the roster. The team has drastically changed from the team that just won the Cup, obviously now with the inclusion of Michael Dowcall. We are going to start Ryan Strome. Actually, that's the big question. Do we start Strome on the second line where he's projected over Goodrow, who was projected as the first? You know what? Actually, I think I just answered my own question. We will go with Goodrow on the top line with Dowcall and Tavares. Strome will be with Monahan, who we've switched to a playmaker as opposed to a two-way forward. I want to see how he does with that. I do want him to be a little bit more offensive. Of course, the third pairing is Prince Cizikas Lee. Big season for Casey Cizikas to see what he can do. And, of course, the fourth line, which I think is underrated. I think they'll do very well for us. Nelson Smith and P.A. Parento. Defensively, it could be a little bit better if we weren't to have Ryan Pulock in our lineup, but knowing what he could turn into, what we saw him turn into in the Vancouver series, it's worth having him start this season. Keep in mind, of course, the overalls are a little bit lower because of some of the trades and moves we've had to make. Luongo-Greiss is, of course, the pairing. Yes, we need to find a goalie for the future once Luongo leaves, but we are in win-now mode. We have Ginnon and Cunningham as some depth players. The AHL is actually looking pretty good too. We have Timashov, Alan Quine, and Josh Hosang on the top line. Second line is Gomez. I'm going to say it's Gomes, though, with Sundstrom and Andrew Miller. Miller, of course, a depth player. The third line, Bolton. And we actually acquired Tim Schaller and Zach Ronaldo from Boston for Carter Verhaeghe. I think his name was Ross Johnston. We actually ended up getting some picks along with Schaller and Ronaldo. So it works out for us. We get the Bridgeport Sound Tigers to be a little bit better in overall. The fourth line is the rookie line. We have Carl Grundstrom, Anthony Cirelli, and Jan Pavel Laplante. Normally, you guys know if you've watched my series, I like to roll with these guys on the top line, but I do want to get Bridgeport into the playoffs, especially too with how weak this defense is. We have Pelech and Scott Mayfield, Wotherspoon with Siebenaler, and now Vince Dunn and Travis Dermott, two of our most recent signings from the past episode, are in the lineup. Linus Soderstrom will be the goalie to start over Berube, and I think that does it. So let's get in to the sim here in this episode. We won't make any other changes unless we need to, and much like Nations United, I think we'll take this either a month or a couple months at a time. That's the question. You know what? Let's just go 1 month for now. We will sim the opening month of October. It's pretty much all Luongo, with the exception of this game against Minnesota. That will be Thomas Greiss's season debut. Let's see, though, how this new look team does to start the second season. Not exactly what you would have expected from this team to start. A 5-3-2 record. Not our best stretch so far with the Islanders. The New York Rangers are 11-0, but despite the slow start, we are still in third place. It is only through 10 games, but an 11-0 start for the New York Rangers is insane. We have switched a couple of things. Monahan is back to a two-way. Shane Prince back to a playmaker, just to try and change things up. Gormley is now going to play with Travis Hamonic and Calvin DeHaan with Pulock. The DeHaan-Hamonic pairing wasn't terrible. Gormley-Pulock just not gelling together really that well at all. Roberto Luongo hasn't been amazing. His save percentage prior to our last two games was pretty dreadful. He actually missed a start as well due to injury. So not our finest start. Really, we need to turn it around. And this next month is going to be very challenging. Greiss and Luongo are almost going to be doing a 50-50 split, it seems like. So let's see, Greiss, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starts for Greiss as opposed to the normal 1 or 2 per month, since we only use our backup goalie in the back-to-back games. So it'll be interesting to see how November goes for us, but I think we might do a decent bit of simming here. I think I might just go to the All-Star break unless this team really struggles, which means obviously Greiss will get more starts than just 5. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go all the way to the All-Star break. We'll see where our team stands. If I stop this before the All-Star break, it's because our team is shit and we need to make changes. So hope that we make it to the All-Star break for this next sim period. Otherwise, it's probably bad news for our team. So we've stopped on December 19th. Things aren't going horribly. We have an 18-12-4 record. That is good enough to be in third place in our division, where we've pretty much been for the entire sim period at this point, behind New York and the Philadelphia Flyers. Things are going okay. A couple injuries here or there, but it is very evident to me, and I mean it would be evident to pretty much anybody, we need to make a couple of changes if we're going to compete for the Cup again. Ryan Pulock, simply put, I mean, he's the top 6 as far as role goes. He's not ready yet. We need somebody else to step in. And Roberto Luongo, he didn't play the last game, not because he's been terrible, which he has been, but because it was just a bit back-to-back and Grice was ready to start. Luongo only has a .903 save percentage. Bottom line, he is not the goalie he was for us in the postseason. He was pretty much the reason we were able to win the Cup, along, of course, with our captain, John Tavares. So with that said, I don't think I'm going to wait any longer. I'm going to scout out some players, and we're going to have to acquire a defenseman, and probably, if the price is right, a new goaltender. So unfortunately, as is usually the case whenever we go to try and find somebody to acquire, the prices are simply too high in terms of the goalies. I mean, I looked at some defensemen, and prices were pretty high there, but for goalies, I mean, we could get somebody like a Craig Anderson, who wouldn't really be that much of a momentary replacement at 35 years old. We could go for somebody like Fleury, who's, a little bit older. It might not work out. Ben Bishop, who's 30. We would have to pay a pretty big price for him and hope that he works out. Varlamov, who I think is 28, 29 years old. Bobrovsky is another name. There are goalies we can get, but the price is just stupidly high at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait. We're going to sim to the All-Star break. I might come back once we hit the All-Star break, or I might look to see if we can find another goalie. If not, I might just give you guys a quick update, and then we'll go to the trade deadline and see if there are any teams we can really work with to actually make this work. I mean, I don't know how Luongo's going to do. He's going to be our starter for the moment, but it's a 2-loss policy. If he loses the net to Thomas Grice, so be it. But we're in a little bit of a spot because we're only now on pace to be a playoff team. But despite the offense we have, we do have some weaknesses on the back end with defense and goaltending. But again, we're going to send to the All-Star break and see where we stand. Let's hope Luongo can get his shit together for one, hopefully. I mean, you never know. It could be his final playoff run. So let's hope he can get things together. Now, this isn't going to be the trade menu that you would have expected, but not too long after starting the sim, we actually got this offer from the Edmonton Oilers, and it's kind of interesting. A straight second-round pick swap, and they want Christian Lilia and Chizen for a second-round pick next year. Lilia's 7th D potential, obviously, you can tell by the trade value bar, has a little bit of value, so he might go up to a 6th-round pick, but that's essentially turning a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick. I mean, Braden Chizen, I don't expect him to really pan out. I mean, I only picked him that late because he was 6'6". He's a monster. But I think I'm going to take this trade. I mean, I don't know where Edmonton's 2nd-round pick will be, but turning a 4th and a 6th-round pick into a 2nd-round pick, I am more than content with. So thank you, Edmonton, for the 2nd-round pick. Another minor deal that Calgary actually offered, it's Jesse Graham, who is 7th D potential. I really don't see him panning out to be much right now. He is just minor league depth, as his role indicates. They've offered a 5th and a 6th in the 2018 draft, next year's draft. And I think I'm going to take it. It clears up contract spot. And we've actually gotten another offer, this time from the Buffalo Sabres. They want defenseman Jake O'Donnell, who is high 7th D potential, so he may turn into something. He was a 5th-round pick in the most recent draft. They're offering a 3rd and a 4th in this year's draft, which to me is a pretty good trade. I mean, yeah, he has some value. I have no doubt Jake O'Donnell will definitely turn in to a Jesus Christ, English, man, to a top 6, easy for me to say, defenseman. But between guys like Leddy, who are going to be on our back line for a very long time, Dunn, Pulock, Siebenthaler, Van de Sompel, Wotherspoon, Pellick, Dermott, we don't need him, and who knows what we'll get from that 3rd and 4th-round pick. So Jake O'Donnell is now a Buffalo Sabre. So guys, we've hit the All-Star break, and as you can see, we have had some decent success recently. Currently a 27-15-4 record on the year. That is good enough for third place in the Metro Division, the stronger division, at least at the moment, with both wildcard spots also there belonging to Pittsburgh and Washington. We'll give you a quick look at the team. The first line's done pretty well. Dowcall is almost a shoo-in for the Calder. Tavares is having a good year. Goodrow having a good year. Ladd's doing all right. Like, not tremendous, but that's not too bad. From the second line, we have changed up things a little bit. Cizikas bottom line, he's not a third liner. Like, he has 17 points, which is fine. But then we have P.A. Parento, who has, 23 on the fourth line. So the new third line is going to be Prince, Lee, and Parento, with the fourth line being Brock Nelson, Cizikas, and Zach Smith. And thinking about it too, like, Brock Nelson hasn't done too bad. He could probably be a third liner. I mean, the thing is, like, just with Parento, I mean, I'm tempted to trade Parento or Nelson, is basically what I'm saying. And it might be Parento, depending on his value, just because he only has 1 year left. And Nelson could probably do wonders on that third line. Tempted. Again, at the moment, I'm not going to be making a trade. We are going to wait until we get closer to the trade deadline, especially with how many trade offers we've been getting from the computers. Luongo turning it around a bit. Greiss performing pretty well for a backup. So far, so good from this team. And as we get closer to the trade deadline, which is where we are simming to next over the next month or so, we'll see if we get any offers. And then, of course, we will stop on, March 2nd, and browse around a little bit ourselves to see if we can find a deal. But that is what is going on with the Islanders at the moment. Question is, will we still be within the playoff structure with Pittsburgh and Washington starting to get their shit together come March 2nd? We've received another trade offer, this time from the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's the second-round pick from Edmonton, along with Sartoris and Radish. Now, Sartoris is high top six, so again, someone who's pretty likely going to be an NHLer. He was a fifth-round pick. And then Taylor Radish, who was a fourth-round pick, high bottom six, also pretty likely to be an NHLer. But again, we have a situation where we could turn another fourth and fifth-round pick, or picks, into another second-rounder. Again, Sartoris, most likely to make the NHL. I don't think he'd make the NHL with us due to our defensive depth. And Radish, not the worst player in the world, not currently signed. But I think I'm going to take this because, again, who knows just what exactly that second-round pick could be for Sartoris and Radish. So we are stocking up on draft picks. And, yeah, I agree with Toronto. I think it'll be good for us. And since it was skipped over here, I was going to show you the draft picks. I should say, interesting. Okay, so much is going on. I was going to show you the draft picks. Bottom line, we have a lot. Frankie Corrado on waivers. Now, this could be interesting. He's only a 75 overall. He's 23. I don't think he's going to end up being as good as he was for us when we had him with Vancouver. Oh, that's tough. I think I'm going to decline that. And now I'll say Luongo was injured after this game against Tampa. He is out until the 26th. So Berube has been called up. He'll be getting his first game against the Ottawa Senators. But still, despite the Luongo injury, we are going to go to the trade deadline. Now, we've gotten another trade offer, this time from the Detroit Red Wings. They are offering a first-round pick 2 years from now and Brendan Smith, a defender who we could certainly use, for Anthony Cirelli. Now, the only reason I'm even hesitant to do this is I don't want to get in trouble for trading someone that we recently signed, although actually he was in the first batch, wasn't he? He was in the first season signings. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. We're going to send Cirelli to Detroit for a first-round pick. Who knows where Detroit will finish if they fall downhill like they did in the Vancouver series. This will be great for us. And then we can bring in Smith and send down Pulock to the Sound Tigers so he can get a little bit more developmental time. But Anthony Cirelli to Detroit for a first-round pick and Brendan Smith, that sounds more than fine to me. 36, 21, and 6 as we hit March 2nd, the day before trade deadline day. And, yeah, despite the fact we're currently in second place, obviously We still have the issue of Roberto Luongo, and we're not going to be able to trade him. I've tried. I've literally sat here for the past hour, trying to get a fair trade to go through. It's simply not going through. His save percentage has improved. Greiss is one of the best in the league. So I'm content with rolling with Thomas Greiss, and I'll go to the stats to show you guys that. But simply put, I've tried. Like, whether it's a big name like a Ben Bishop or a bigger name, like I've literally explored the idea of getting Carey Price, and that's not happening at all. Yeah, just no matter what I do, like even Jaro Halak, I'm not even kidding. I've explored with Nashville the idea of getting Yaroslav Halak back because he is also one of the best goalies in the league. They want to trade him, and even I believe I offered Luongo, Alex Nylander for Halak, a throwaway, Jamie McBain, and they wouldn't even do that. They wouldn't even do that. I swear to God, Luongo's value is much, much worse than it actually shows up in the game. So we're not going to be able to do anything here, simply put. So I'll quickly show you guys the save percentages, just so you know I wasn't lying when I said Halak is right up there along with Thomas Greiss. We explored trying to get the likes of Louis Domingue, Connor Hellebuck, and Linus Allmark. As much as I'd love to get Thatcher Demko, I think I should probably avoid doing that for the sake of repeating. But it's just not looking like it. I think right now I'll try to get Ranta or Red O'Bara, just because like I said, I'm content with trading Luongo, getting whatever we can for him, and rolling with Greiss. If that doesn't happen, we are simming to this game on April 1st against the Ottawa Senators, and we are going to wrap up this episode and see if we can make the playoffs. And guys, we have found the winning combination. It does not solve our goalie problems long term. That is something we will look to address in the upcoming offseason with the draft. But right now, Greiss is playing at a really high level. Antti Ranta is playing at a high level. Despite the fact that Luongo was turning things around, we get out from underneath his cap hit, which will help in the upcoming free agency and re-sign phase. We send Luongo and 2 7th-round picks, Boston's and our own, to the New York Rangers for Antti Ranta and their next 2 3rd-round picks. April 1st has arrived, and we reach the final stretch of the season with a 42-27-7 record, currently in 3rd place in the Metro, battling it out with the Flyers for home ice advantage in the first round. It's been a goalie duel so far between Ranta and Greiss, going with a 2-loss policy. Both have lost control of the crease, and right now it is Ranta's chance against the Sens. And we lose our 3rd straight. Not exactly the best time to be going on a losing stretch like this, which is actually kind of pissing me off. This team really should be performing better. Ranta, unfortunately, is kind of flopping a little bit since we picked him up. Greiss has been okay. I mean, if we were to start the playoffs right now, obviously Greiss would be our starter. Not the ideal situation for most, I'm sure. But we have big games against Philly, and we lose the first one. We have to win this next game against the Flyers, or we're probably screwed. And we get a 4-3 win. So right now, we have, Jesus Christ, we've fallen all the way back into the 2nd wildcard spot. Holy shit, guys, come on. Picking the worst fucking time. We could realistically miss the playoffs. Like, there is a 3-way tie right now. We're not catching the Flyers at 99 points. So right now, our best hope is to make the playoffs. I would rather play the Flyers in the first round than probably the Rangers. But there's a strong chance that this team could miss out on the playoffs. We are going on the worst stretch of the season at the worst possible time. We play the Maple Leafs, who look to be potentially a playoff team. We desperately need a win. Please, let me get an overtime win. Thank God. Thank God. All right, it's Montreal, who's probably a playoff team, and Pittsburgh, a massive, massive game. We have clinched a playoff spot. Thank you, Jesus. The question is, what seed will it be? Will it be in one of the top 3 spots or a wild card spot? We get this game against the Habs. It's another win, this time in a shootout, and that sets up this game against the Penguins, and it looks to be for the right to play the Flyers in the first round, and indeed it is. Whoever wins this game, as you probably hear my dog jumping around in the background, whoever wins this game will play the Flyers in the first round. And I should mention, of course, the Capitals have a chance to move up from that last wildcard spot as well. Bottom line is, we need to win. This is pretty much a playoff game here against the Penguins. Greiss is in goal. Let's see what happens. And we lose in the shootout, so it'll be Philly and Pittsburgh in round one. And we get to play Jack Eichel and the Buffalo Sabres in round one. So we made the playoffs. Once again, we have made the playoffs, but not under ideal circumstances, although it is pretty cool to have. I mean, those matchups in the Eastern Conference are pretty sweet, aside from ours. It's not like there's any rivalry there. But some interesting matchups in the Eastern Conference. An interesting season for us as well. The question is, can Greiss get the job done? Should I have just gone overboard and said, fuck it, and just throw out first-round picks and high-value prospects everywhere to get the goalie that we desperately need? I don't know. That's the thing. I'm very conservative. And that's weird for me to say because, the way I've thrown around picks and prospects before. But if you've seen me play, if you've seen me go through these series, I like to be a little bit conservative at the start. But here are the point totals. Not too bad for Michael Dal Colle with 54 points. I won't read off the rest. There are certainly some disappointing numbers. But if last year's team could get it done, there is no question that this team this year could make an impact, which means we're probably destined to be eliminated in the first round against Buffalo. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Season 2 is in the books, and we now look forward to the playoffs as we get to take on the Buffalo Sabres. It's not looking like Michael Dal Colle will win the Calder either. That's going to go to Christian Dvorak. Jimmy Vesey, by the way, also signed in Edmonton. I forgot to show you guys that in the first season. He plays with Drake Caggiula. A nice reuniting there. But anyway, I am only wasting your time at this point. I thank you guys so much for watching. Always, if you have enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button down below to help out the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next episode when we take on Buffalo in round one. But from what I can see, there's no reason that shot should have been interrupted. Let's see. I guess it's saying my stick hit his skate. Like, I make contact with the puck, and it, just launches. I don't know, I guess my guy just